Hello, welcome back to another episode of This Round is on Me. Can you believe that it's already June 2022? And I know I'm committing a cardinal sin here by mentioning the date in a podcast because, hey, these episodes are out for eternity and meant to be heard anytime. But there's a reason I did this. So June is also known as Pride Month in the US, but now the world over. And it's all about celebrating inclusivity, diversity, and much more. And, we as employers or organizations must, to start with, have an employee policy that supports inclusivity and diversity. But I've been thinking about it and I just feel that it's time to do a little bit more than just that. And it is our responsibility to show that we truly are sort of, walking the talk and that we are allies to the community in more respects than just an employee policy. So I'm so excited to share that this month, at Mac Street Toppings, which is our pizza delivery brand, we actually created the Pride box. So all our pizzas being delivered this month are going to be in the Pride pizza box. And from our other brand, which is our bakery, Mac Street Bread Co., we have our Pride Cruffin, which has made a comeback this year, which again just celebrates and reminds people to be inclusive and celebrate love. Now, back to today's guest, who, by the way, actually is also focused on diversity and inclusivity from a gender perspective. I'm so thrilled to have her on the show. It's Aabha Bakaya. Aabha is a career business journalist, news anchor, editor, writer, and producer. And she's worked for major networks like NDTV Profit, ET Now, Bloomberg TV. She was the lead anchor for Bloomberg TV India, where she hosted the morning market news and, created the highly rated shows on entrepreneurship, including E-Ink and Rising Stars. She's known for being one of the most versatile television anchors and having also hosted and produced signature shows like Boss's Day Out and Gadget Guru to Zig Wheels. So why is she on the show today? Because she's also the founder of Ladies Who Lead, which is a community that empowers, enables, and encourages women leaders who are inspired to do more with their careers. So join us after a quick break and I'll have Aabha joining me on the show. Welcome to the show, Aabha. It's so great to have you here and thank you for making the time.
It's great to be on your show, Gauri, and especially chatting with a good friend first thing in the morning. So it's a treat.
Amazing. So listen, let's jump right into it. And, I want to hear all about what went behind this fantastic community that you've built called Ladies Who Lead. So, you've been a TV journalist for the longest time. So how on earth did, the idea come about for Ladies Who Lead?
So I've always been a people's person. And I think that naturally, of course, plays into my work as a career journalist. And I'm always meeting people, learning stories and their journeys. And in the process of that, I met some very interesting women leaders who suggested that there was a need for women to really come together. And I was skeptical at first, actually, because I just thought that, everyone's busy and would people really take out the time? But more than ever before, we find that there's definitely a space for women leaders who want to meet like-minded peers, who are looking to be stimulated to grow further, regardless of where they are in their career journey. And we're actually, continuing to see more and more members coming into the club, it's just a validation of what we're actually creating here.
Yeah, I've been, part of it since I've been following what you've been doing very much since the beginning. And I know that, what you're doing, what you've built today is very different from how you started out. And it's been a great evolution of the program. So, just sort of, again, going back to the sort of idea behind LWL, there are two schools of thought, about highlighting your gender when defining your role, like referring to yourself as a female chef or women entrepreneurs, etc. Right? So do you ever feel like it's counterintuitive to be fighting a woman's corner to bring greater equality, but yet highlighting that someone is a woman so as to differentiate? What do you feel?
So I think you're bang on in terms of the fact that we do need to use more inclusive language in terms of how we, sort of refer to people going forward. And that's definitely a global phenomenon. But at the same time, and I agree with you, we're a club of leaders. I think our name in itself suggests that it's open to the women gender. But we are a platform that engages with men. They're not necessarily members, but in terms of our members having access to leaders regardless of gender, as long as they can help or facilitate their growth, that's what's important. We also have members who bring in partners or family members to a certain event where we do have guests allowed, when they feel that they're going to be supportive or can contribute to the conversation. So, I agree with you on that front, and I think we're definitely on that. On the other hand, I think that it's still a long way to go, especially in India, which is still developing on many fronts. And these conversations, while they may take place in certain high-level meetings, for the larger, majority of people, it's still a long way to go before they feel that they are on an even footing. If we're talking about equal opportunity, I feel that, while we do encourage our members to think beyond gender and to think more about how they can, fit a certain role or access a certain opportunity, but they still are coming across certain biases, so we don't ignore that. I think we find ways to deal with it and move past it.
So, one thing I love is your LinkedIn profile states that your philosophy is based on the principle that nobody approaches a business to fulfill a desire to part with their money, and just give it to anyone, but that they're really looking to see what value they can, that they can get out of it, right? So, like I said, I've been a member, for some time now, and I personally, I've loved, all the events that you guys curate. I can't always take part, but and even like you said, the caliber of the network and the membership, right? So what specifically do you feel, LWL does differently from other communities out there, which are also women-centric? But what is it, what nail have you hit on the head when it comes to what you guys are doing?
True, Gauri. Firstly, I think the word value is really important here. And by the way, we love it when you do engage. And I have seen you at some of our events, and it's fabulous. And you've also been a speaker, of course, in our early journey. You also shared many nuggets from your success story. We're very conscious that members should feel that they are involved, that this is a community that's really about them, and that they're able to take home whatever they feel is adding to their individual or professional growth. We have a really unique mix of ingredients here, and I think it all comes together. There's of course fabulous curation in terms of the kind of events and also experiences we put together. So it's a mix of talks, it's a mix of workshops, experiences. The idea is that you can mix work and play. So you can learn on a field trip to a winery, you could meet a specialist at a factory, you could have a soft skilling workshop, you could have a NFT workshop. So, we cover quite a gamut of topics and the entire spectrum. We're very consistent in that we almost have 80 things scheduled for the year across Delhi, Bombay, and slowly now we're building in Bangalore. So we also have members, in fact, who are writing into us from other cities, Ahmedabad, Surat, Raipur, who just want to be part of it. They travel now and then, but more than that, they just want to be part of this, really powerful community of leaders and tap into some of the resources, the stimulating conversation, and then, of course, engage with these members as and when, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's in peer groups. So we've started LWL Bonds, which is where it allows for our Titan members to come together in smaller groups of 6 or 7, 8, have their own goal-setting meetings. We have a lot of special offers so that, if they do want to meet up in certain, premium settings, we have offers for them at Forum, Taj. If they want to get away or travel together, we try and facilitate, nice packages for them. So we really look after our members.
That's for sure. I can vouch for that. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. I really do think you've created something incredible.
They should have the best. Thank you. And they should have the
it's
best.
time to be spoiled, right?
Yeah,
we have to spoil ourselves. Yeah. It's interesting that you're saying people have been reaching out, and I can completely see why, with obviously seeing what you guys are doing, that, more people want to be a part of this, right? But on the flip side, I want to kind of tell you this sort of a small anecdote of this friend, a dear friend of mine, actually, who's extremely bright. She's a successful founder in her field. And just the other day, I was encouraging her to, put herself out there more. And since she's been quite shy about it and she's hesitant to talk about herself too much on social media, and one of the things that I told her was that, you have to think about it differently, right? It's not a vanity project just to become famous, but rather about, it's almost like a social responsibility to share what you've learned over the years, right? Whether in the capacity of a businesswoman or a subject expert or even on a personal front, right? And I think, that's what I see happening with a lot of the, people that you invite to speak to the members. And I just thought it was really interesting that even someone who I really look up to and I think is highly intelligent needs this kind of cajoling, right? So what are some of the challenges that you've seen with women entrepreneurs? Because you're obviously working with people who've already, made that choice and come on board to become members, right? So how do you kind of, how are you sort of addressing this to people who are still reluctant or not quite sure how to navigate this space?
So our membership, firstly, at the moment, we are open access in the sense that, of course, there's a natural vetting, but we do invite people to take membership in the sense we're still new. You can choose whether you want to be a Titan or a Victoria member. I mean, we might, help you decide depending on, your profiles or what you're looking for.
Sorry, can I interrupt just to ask, can you take us through the difference between the two?
Yeah. So we have Victoria membership and Titan membership. Victoria members have access to almost everything. They're a little bit more inclined to, of course, also, have more in-depth workshops, learning, a little bit more programming attention is also given towards that. And of course, we also mix that up, as I mentioned, with a lot of the experiences and fun things. We just did a workshop in Bombay, for instance, which was a mix of building your own brand identity, personal brand, as well as, soft skills, and then your social media, and we helped, we took LinkedIn profile pictures on ground and it was very highly interactive. Our Titan members, so Victorias are a mix of, all our members are a mix of industries, of course. So Victorias, we also have a lot of people from different creative fields, and many people who are really trying to build their own individual strengths or businesses. Right. Titans, by definition, are slightly more established. They are usually members who've already been working or running their business, for about a decade or so. So, by definition, they just are, more senior. And we do have, a fair amount of exclusive things that we do for our Titans. So we've kicked off Bonds for Titans, of course. We have a quarterly soiree, which is always at a very premium networking venue. Our gifting partners, or offers obviously will be larger for the Titan members because it's a more premium membership. And going forward, for example, we have a breakfast coming up with Roshni Nader, which will be exclusive for Titan. Mm-hmm. We have a visit to the Merck factory in Pune, which is a highly curated trip with off-roading, with a stay at the Ritz, etc. So that's also more exclusive for Titans. They may not be in the sense we are more selective on what we curate for the Titans, but we ensure it's a uber exclusive experience. And of course, they have access otherwise to everything. And all our members have access to our events. So for instance, roundtables and Espresso are slightly more learning-oriented events. Espresso is more for founders, roundtables are more for industry heads. And then we have a whole bunch of experiences and talks and things which are just appealing to everyone. But to answer your question, I think that, apart from, of course, what we are catering to in terms of programming, we also have a very, very personalized team. And they spend a lot of time talking to our members. We are inclusive. We pride ourselves on that. Our members come from all walks of life, and we want to ensure that they're comfortable in this space. It is meant to be a safe space for them. So, for example, we had a couple of members who joined who are a little shy, and I think that for me, it was an interesting takeaway because the fact that they joined shows you that they're making that first step forward towards wanting to meet others, right? And we really do what we can to ensure whether it's personalized calls, interacting with them at the event, introducing them to others, trying to find out if they're looking for something specific. We spend that time with them. So this isn't something where you just kind of sign on and you're just there and, you go for like an event in a year. It's not like that. It's actually a very personalized community.
Yeah, and you know what? WhatsApp groups can be really intimidating as well, right? Like you don't want to say anything and sound stupid in front of like all these people. But I think that, again, I think it's really important, like you said, that people are made to feel comfortable and it's not just about like increasing the numbers and scaling the program, without that.
No, we're definitely, and our chief mentors are Aditya Ghosh, as you know, and we're definitely all about building something that's authentic. We're not in that sort of race to kind of we want to grow meaningfully,
exactly,
and we want to grow to create larger impact. The idea is that when we come together as a collective, as a voice, that's when we have the power to really make a difference. A lot of the men in leadership, and there are a lot more men in leadership, of course, as we know, but they're able to influence, the way things are done in the ecosystem because they're in that position of authority. Tomorrow, when we, cumulatively together also have more influence, it will lead to larger impact.
Absolutely. I think quality over quantity for sure has always worked. So, there's a need for networking now more than ever. And, also for women entrepreneurs, I do see that as an issue where, there's reservations also for them to take time out to do this, time away from family and work, etc., and engage in events and networking. But do you feel that that's changed post-pandemic, or, how do you sort of see this, these initiatives, or what initiatives are you all doing to create awareness, and how do you kind of sort of convince people in a way that, making that effort is of value?
Right. So I think that there's definitely been a huge move towards everyone wanting to step out post-March. We definitely saw, in fact, Feb itself, because we had our polo match in February, and there was a massive turnout. So I think people were just itching to step out. I know, of course, a lot of people are traveling and on the move, but it's an annual membership where there is so much stuff during the year. And I think, like I said, we also allow in certain events for people to also bring in, like, for example, some people may not want to leave their partner at home, but a lot of women do, by the way. They're really happy to have a girls' night.
Yeah, that would be me.
So I'm like, bye-bye. So we have a couple of members who, enjoyed coming for a conversation over cocktails with their partner. So it's, so they don't feel then that they're having to kind of leave them at home or something. So that's fine. But people make the time, Gauri. I think that when they realize that there is a takeaway, that they're meeting like-minded peers, they're gaining connections, they're meeting people. They also, the event's beautifully curated in the sense, so, they thoroughly enjoy the experience as well. I think all of it comes together. So we do find that people make the time to come. I think, and like I said, we try and diversify and have a mix of everything so that you can always choose what you feel is more interesting for you.
Sure. So before we start sort of talking about the business aspect of, building a community like this, what would be your top 3 tips to be an effective networker?
So
showing up is, I guess, the first step, but then what?
Showing up, I think people underplay the importance of perception and your overall, how you come across. So, if you do pay a little bit of attention to how you present yourself before you're going somewhere where you may be meeting people that you want to connect with, that's a little important. And then, of course, you always should have in mind maybe a couple of conversation starters. If you do get 2 minutes, let's say, with somebody who, I see a lot of people huddle with, CEOs, for example, if they've just come off after giving a talk, just come off the stage after giving a talk. Now, that's probably the worst time because honestly, then, and you probably know this story, they're never going to actually keep your card. Okay. And, at the most, sometimes they'll tell you, sure, email me, we'll follow up. But they're surrounded at that time. It's not going to happen. But if you get a moment with them, let's say when they're a little bit more relaxed, right? You have just 2 minutes to capture their attention. So I think it's important to think about what you're asked is. A lot of people tend to kind of go into these things with a very vague description of, and I think they just kind of hoping that someone will just solve everything for them. It doesn't work, so take it piece by piece. And similarly, sometimes if, for instance, if you're just networking with a peer and you're getting to know someone, ease into it. You might want to ease into it with talking about something just like around you. That's, maybe the drinks or the talk or whatever. Other times you might want to ask them a couple of general questions, get an idea of what they do or, what their area of interest is before you match it to yours. So, yeah.
Great. That is definitely, I can definitely vouch for that be sort of prepared and have a value ask in a way, not just sort of, make polite conversation. Yeah. Let's talk about ladies who lead the business, right? So, you started your career as a news anchor and, made a mark in the industry. But how did that experience, if at all, prepare you or contribute to your being an entrepreneur now, right? Because this is, at the end of the day, it does have a business side to it as well, right?
Absolutely. So I don't think I ever thought that I would become an entrepreneur. I think it came as a surprise to me as well. I think that's been while I've interviewed so many entrepreneurs in my career, I think has been and will continue to be a learning draft for me. I think it's been great to have some fabulous supporters, mentors, investors, partners, who've been instrumental in terms of insight or adding value to how we build this. We are committed to, we're really committed to scaling this and building this, and for the reasons that I mentioned. So how did my work play into this? I think maybe more from the aspect of picking up different things from different people and applying them here. I think it's interesting when you have to apply it yourself. Sometimes things make sense in a different way, or you realize, when somebody was maybe mentioning, like somebody very early in my, this is before I was an entrepreneur, someone once said to me, dude, you have to really like pull out all the stops. You have to use every single connection, play every hand that you've got, And it's true. Like, at that time I thought to myself, what nonsense, like, because when you're a professional, you're in a bubble, right?
Yeah.
And you may know how business works in the sense you speak to business leaders, you're talking about it, you're asking the tough questions, but you're in your bubble, right? But when you're on the other side,
it's a safe space. Yeah, it's a different kind of safe space. Yeah.
When you're on the other side, you suddenly got to hustle.
Exactly.
So you have to leave that ego at home, and but I have to say I've been very lucky because I find that I've had a lot of warmth from the ecosystem, even my professional ecosystem, recognizing that it is tough to kind of go out there and also try to do something on your own. So, I don't know if they're bemused or not.
Well, I mean, no, I think, you firstly you have access to so many sort of great minds just because of what you do in your professional capacity. And, there's so much that you can just learn from what, talking to people, right? And like you said, applying that. But I think one of the key things, and especially because you are sort of juggling between these two roles, is that you need a truly, great team behind you, right? And you do have a fantastic team. How did you go about building this team, right? Like you're kind of in startup mode. So where did you start, and what functions for you were a priority, and how has that evolved over time since you launched?
So I think by the way, I love my team. I adore them. They are all stakeholders.
I love your team as well.
Oh, yeah. Really, they really are. And I think that we're a very tight team. We kind of, everyone is sort of involved in building this out, and we're all leaders. Every single one of us. And so I think it started from, of course, the core would have been content and curation because that's my strength. And then I met my strategy head in partner Malvika, and that brought in more strength on sort of shaping out the projections, the practicalities, the business plan. I built relationships with Anisha Datti in Bombay. As you know, we kind of had, crossed paths on a previous project in one lifetime, and we kind of came together for this, and they helped to build out both, programming, content, membership, partnerships, all of it really. And then I moved to Delhi during COVID, and we also have really strengthened our team here. So our sales team sits out of Delhi primarily. And then, of course, since I'm taking names, I must mention Ruchita, because she's actually the one of the founding team members, and Priyam, who also really spearheads the brand identity for LWL.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And I think, like you said, strategy is very key just to sort of when you're starting out, right? But you've also been funded recently, which is fantastic, and that too by a man, which is amazing. So, take us through that journey and, what, if any, were some of the challenges, or was it relatively easy for you?
So, what I love about the way Malvika and I think is that we are very agile and we pivot very quickly. And, that's something which I think I enjoy as a personality, because I enjoy change, but it's also a challenge for someone who's usually used to structure and so on. So, you start off and you think that everything's going to happen exactly as you planned it. And then
Welcome to entrepreneur life, right? Yeah.
So I called up a friend once. He's also a member. They said she's great. She's always been so helpful. And I called her once and I said something, and this is happening and this is happening, and I don't understand. She goes, babe, this is how it is. This is entrepreneurship. Welcome, So, no, I think when we started, we initially reached out to our immediate network, and we got everyone was very encouraging, like I mentioned. But we probably we were reaching out to more serious investors because those are the people I knew. I think because we were still a baby, we had to just start. We just had to start. Like you said, while I'd been informally engaging with the community, we only started membership in September 2020. We probably started speaking to investors 3-4 months before that, before we realized that let's just take the plunge. Only then will there be a little bit more to go on, in terms of showing them metrics and conversation. But we started membership, and just honestly, all the investors came like this.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it just came together. Aditya and I have known each other, of course, since the start of our careers. When I first interviewed him, when he was still a lawyer back in the day. So we've known each other since then. And so I think there was a natural comfort factor, but he's also very driven towards impact and diversity. And I think that was a natural fit for him. And he's been instrumental, of course, in, taking us from how we started to really helping us shape this into, a larger offering, which we started to roll out this January. And in July, in fact, we're also going to be launching our tie-up with both the Karm Fellowship as well as Seva. So for every member that joins, there's a contribution towards the women at Seva who are, involved in skilling and, creating products and entrepreneurship. And for our Titan members, there will also be a larger association with the Karm Fellowship and mentoring these young girls who are looking to now,
Amazing.
Graduate and move into careers. So we're also going to be doing that. And of course, I must say, we've got founder investors like Neha Motwani, Ghazal Kalra, Vinati Saraf. And honestly, it was their belief that gave us the courage to also kick off. Because, having your own peer group, take that chance on you is really the best feeling.
I'm sure. And so speaking of sort of associations and collaborations, like you've talked about, we've collaborated and, launched my second podcast, which is Women on Top in India. And like you said, I also just sort of took a chance and reached out to you. And, it was very serendipitous. So, as you know, the show focuses on successful women entrepreneurs and their journeys. And I'm really, chuffed to have LWL be a partner, and it is a great fit. What are some of the things that you look at while deciding whom to collaborate with, and, whether it's for your events or otherwise?
Well, we love what you do, Gauri, and we love, everything that you embody as well in terms of as an entrepreneur, as, someone who's a leading figure in the community, and in terms of some of these conversations that you're building out. You've also created so many multiple brands and wonderful experiences with your restaurants, and it was a natural fit. We didn't even have to think about it, and I think that what works for us, I think, is relationships and partnerships. We really believe in building these out. If you see that a lot of our partners are people that we've been working with for a long time, or even the new partners or relationships that we build, we go into it with the idea of really, continuing with it long
Long
term.
term. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, we're looking, I think it's more in terms of stakeholders who are also filled with the same purpose as we are.
Yeah. You've talked about this, you mentioned this earlier. You've had some amazing mentors and advisors, including your investor, Aditya. How important is it for entrepreneurs to have a mentor or advisor as a startup? And how do you even go about finding the right one?
Yeah, I think it's really important for people to understand that you need a chemistry with your mentor. I think people sometimes blindly approach people for so-called mentorship, but what they really want are just connections
Career
or
advisor.
investment. Yeah. I think, there you're then wasting that mentor's time as well. See, these are very busy people, and but they are willing to take out that time for something that they find they can contribute to or add value to. So in order for that to happen, there needs to be a synergy. There needs to be, some kind of chemistry. So it's really about that. You'll meet a lot of people. Different people will give you different advice, nuggets, takeaways. You meet a lot of people, and that's an ongoing thing. But for someone to be invested in your journey, I think that's someone who you find yourself catching a cup of coffee with frequently, consistently, whether it's every, 2-3 months, whether it's even twice a year. But, when you have those conversations, it really feeds back into your business and you do more with it. I remember Aisha Tuskera told me this. She was head of Morgan Stanley, as you know, and she passed away from cancer. But brilliant woman, so respected in her industry globally, 3 kids, much loved. And she said, you have to find a mentor. She said, you have to find 2-3 mentors. Find a couple of mentors, but you will need a mentor to guide you. And she said, my mentors were all men. And she said, that's okay. It can be men, it can be women, right? That's totally fine. But you need to find that person who will help to open doors, to open your mind as to, possibilities and, to be invested in your journey.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you just have to start somewhere and start having conversations, right? That's a start. Listen.
Go ahead. People enjoy being part of something amazing.
Yeah.
This is what I mean by chemistry. They have to feel that, that there's magic being created here. So this is an intangible. I don't know how to just articulate it.
No, I mean, it makes complete sense. I think the bigger challenge is, if you are creating something amazing and you're able to communicate that's one thing. Yeah. But I think finding, where do you even start to find someone, right? How do you kind of, go about sort of reaching out? And I think one of the ways could even be, attending sessions that you guys do.
Absolutely.
And, that's because you invite a lot of people who may not be part of the membership cohort, but, come as guests or, presenters or panelists or whatever. And I think you just have to keep your eyes and ears open and you just never know what sticks, right?
Absolutely. And wherever we can help you make a connection, we do that as well. And yes, I think that where it's seamless and everyone kind of forms those bonds, that also works beautifully.
Yeah. Wow. So much amazing stuff and really inspiring and lots of food for thought. But we're going to take a quick break before we enter the last segment of the show. So stay tuned. Okay, we're back with Aabha, and really, I mean, I'm really sort of so inspired by what you've done, and I think I'm just excited about it. And I'm constantly telling people that you have to become a member, which I'm also going to do at the end of the show. But before that, I'm going to completely go off track now and, ask you things that are not LWL related, starting with, and this is with my restaurateur cap on, what is your favorite comfort food?
Peanut butter sandwich.
Okay, thank you for not saying khichdi like everybody else on my show. I love that. Okay, what's a great book you've read in the recent past or podcast or anything that you've come across?
Can I just defy the norm here and say, I grew up with fiction. Right. I was a bookworm. I used to read, I could read 3 books a day and I just used to read and read and read.
Didn't you do a creative writing course as well, by the way?
I did. I went to Columbia for a creative writing course. I had a screenwriting course. I loved it. It was so amazing. So, I think for me, that's my passion, getting immersed into stories. And I mean, I read some of the new things that the new books that authors are coming out with today, and the kind of literature, it's phenomenal. So I don't have a favorite off the top of my head, but I'd say fiction. Like I'm not going to quote a biography today. I would just say,
No, I'm not asking it from where can I get 10 like life lessons from? No, please. It can just be a fun
yeah.
weekend read. It could be anything, but yeah, I mean, anything you've read, sort of that you've enjoyed and recommend.
Yeah, I think I've also been into a little bit of spiritual books, and something like Om Swami has a series of books, if anyone wants to look up, and they're very easy to read in the sense that, it's his own story is fascinating. He's somebody who went abroad, made his millions, gave it up overnight, came back and set up this ashram, and he's like in his 40s when he did this. It wasn't like some old guru. So his style of writing is also very light, simple, but very poignant. Yeah.
Great. What's one of the best investments you've made in your journey? It sounds like your creative writing course, but no, if anything that you feel really kind of you look back at and feel added value.
So I think, when I read this question of yours, I was like, oh my God, but it actually comes to me really naturally. I think, of course, you can keep doing courses and those kind of things. So I was with a channel which was partnered with Bloomberg International, and I was with the channel for a very long time, but the tie-up with Bloomberg finished, and the channel also soon after was dissolved. So I had kind of not jumped into something else immediately. I thought, let me take some time out. I'd been with them almost 7 years or something like that. And, there was so much, you're kind of buying with a little bit of guilt because you think that, oh my God, like I've taken like this holiday year. But when I look back, I think I must have used all my savings at the time to kind of travel. I extensively traveled, but that's the time when I set up ABN. I started to, build LWL without knowing what I was doing, but that's when it started. That was the birth of it. So when I look back today, all of those conversations, and this kind of encapsulates everything we've been talking about, because all the people that I think had believed in me, for whom it may not have been clear in that moment, but they never made me feel like that. They always had that full confidence in me. I know when I look back that I must have sounded like I wasn't clear, but but they had full confidence. And they spent so much time with me, guiding me. I have so many meetings which may not have led somewhere separately for business development, but today I realized gave me so many insights, learnings, which I'm able to carry forward today. So I would just say that anything you do, and this is what, one of my colleagues, Gautam Gulati, he always says that. He says nothing is a waste of time. Everything you do, as long as it's with a purpose, so you're trying to, even if it doesn't happen at that time, you'll find that learning will help you later. So you just have to keep at it. The key is to just actively continue to try and engage and build yourself.
Absolutely. We've talked about your role models and mentors. So, other than Aditya, is there anyone else that you sort of, any one person or two people or anything that you kind of want to give a shout out to?
Well, my dad is MD Sarovar Hotels. It's a company management firm that he built himself. They're actually India's largest, hotel brand, like in terms in the middle segment especially. And they are, he's completely self-made. So when I see his journey, and we traveled a lot. When we were younger, we actually grew up abroad. So we spent our early years moving around a lot. I've changed like 13 schools. We jumped around continents.
Wow.
So, he comes with a zest for life. He cycles. He's in his 60s. He cycles 100 kilometers every weekend. He still travels probably 20 days a month. I don't know how he does it. He wakes up at 4 and meditates and this whole routine. I can still barely wake up at, I won't say what time. So I think when you're talking about leadership and excellence and discipline and, and humility, for me, he would be the ultimate role model.
Amazing. What's your definition of success?
I think for me, it would be impact. Mm-hmm. I think people have, and I know that I'm not sure yet how best you would measure it. I think sometimes impact is felt, sometimes impact is seen, sometimes impact can be quantifiable, but it would be impact. So heading towards that gradually, working on it.
And finally, what's your message? And at the risk of saying this, to women entrepreneurs.
No, it's good you asked, because honestly, I just feel there are so many amazing women out there doing some brilliant things. And I just say to everyone, it doesn't matter how small, how big, it matters that you're creating. It matters that you're part of the bigger whole, and you are contributing. It's all of these things. It's an energy exchange. It's today you're making something, someone else is buying it. Tomorrow, you're going to want a resource. They're going to offer it, but everyone is, today, I think, finding ways to better themselves, engage with the community, and I just think that it's phenomenal. So I don't see any lack of women leaders. I'm going to say women leaders because we're talking about it, in that context. But I just think we're going to see more and more people who are less shy in talking about it and talking about what they do. Because whatever it is, they should be proud of it. You bake a cake at home, you should be proud of it. I cannot bake a cake, and your husband definitely
that makes two of us.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, listen, your enthusiasm is infectious, truly. And I'm so excited for everything you guys have done and are going to do. So I really wish you all the very best. And and we'll definitely see each other soon.
Thank you, Gauri. Thank you so much for the support, the encouragement. And we look forward to, of course, seeing you soon and continuing to have you as a part of us at LWL.
Amazing. I know I sound like I was having a fangirl moment throughout the show, but I really have to admit, as a member of many different forums, including some which are also focused on women specifically, Ladies Who Lead has really stood out for me for the caliber of the membership network, programming, and overall value addition. And I can see from my conversation with Aabha today that there is a real purpose and belief behind what she's trying to build. And I would highly recommend that if you're a woman in business in India listening in, you should explore their website, which is www.ladieswholead.in. The bottom line is, nobody's going to invest in us if we don't invest in ourselves. So what are you waiting for? I hope you enjoyed tuning in today. Do catch the earlier episodes when you get a chance. And more importantly, I would love to hear from you with your thoughts on the show. You can find me on Instagram at Gauri Devidayal, or on Twitter at Gauri Details, or LinkedIn. Either way, sit back and relax, because this round is on me.